Hey everybody, just a quick impromptu premiere, and I'm basing it off of a call that I just had with a customer from Cypress, Texas. You probably remember Annette. I just got done preparing her green goddess and sent it down to her in Texas, and she loves the machine, but because of the unique application that she's using the machine for, which is a lot of free motion quilting, which requires really metering out the power of that motor through the foot controller, obviously that retains a lot of heat and causes that foot controller to become super hot, and it's caused some challenges for her. So I wanted to show you a hack that she and I just brainstormed as we were talking, and I was listening to her and hearing the challenges. And maybe you can use the same approach if you're trying to use a Swedish Beauty for a similar application, where you're really trying to retard that speed of the motor, and you don't want to use the slow gear because as you're doing free motion quilting, you're trying to get a certain a certain motion, for lack of a better description, a certain flow, and the slow gear just kind of holds you back a little bit. So if you want to use a foot controller, this will help. Again, any foot controller that you use, if you're trying to hold that speed back by using the foot controller, and that electricity is flooding in there and starting to get backed up, almost like a traffic backup on the highway, and it's starting to build the heat up and build the heat up, and especially depending on the duration of sewing that you're looking to do, it's going to cause some challenges. But this hack that I've come up with in talking with my friend Annette from down in Texas, I think will definitely help. These foot controllers, I'll kind of zoom in on this a little bit. These foot controllers by design do not have a lot of ventilation ports in them to allow heat to escape. Regardless of what sewing application you're using, you're going to get heat that begins to build up in them. And on this particular foot controller, the only ports that they came up with that are going to allow any significant venting is going to be right at the top. You're going to see, and every foot controller is going to be a little bit different. This one, for example, I'll show you on the camera shot, has no venting at all on the top. And then another model that was a little bit later, right here, they added these two ports right here to allow some of that heat buildup to escape. But it's still not enough when you're looking at an application like free motion quilting, because you're going to be using, as far as the range of the foot controller, you're going to pretty much be in this range right here, which is only about 10, maybe 15% of the way down, right in that range. Really, really holding and harnessing that power back, but building up a lot of heat at the same time. So in an instance like this, where you have an upgraded foot controller by Husqvarna, where they added these two ports, it's better than this one that has really no ventilation whatsoever on it. I mean, well, this one does now because I have the back off. I've got the back off of this one, so it's got a lot of ventilation, but by design, these foot controllers are really, really, really closed systems. And even the more upgraded one over here that has the two holes, it's not enough. So what do? Well, what you do is you become innovative. I'm going to set this one to the side, and we're going to focus strictly on this older style foot controller, again, that has no ventilation, really no ventilation at all. What you can do then is you can create some ventilation opportunities. Let's see if I can put that over here. So let me see if I can zoom in on this even better, and then I'll show you kind of what my thinking is. Yeah, you can kind of see that in the shot, straight down. That's perfect. So as I was listening to Annette's challenge and knowing the engineering of these foot controllers inside and out, I said we need to increase airflow, and we need to give it more of an opportunity for that heat to escape if you're going to be using this type of foot controller, or really any foot controller other than maybe an electronic one, for that application. So we need to create additional ports. And the good thing about the design of these Husqvarna foot controllers is that they're built very well. This inside well, as I explained to Annette, this well right here, that when the machine is being operated, this top part is going to move, kind of like you're seeing it right now. So if you can create more ventilation that's going to be below the threshold of where that foot controller is going to be operated for free motion quilting, which is going to be somewhere in this range right here, again about probably around 15% of the way down, then you're going to be able to create ventilation for this foot controller that it otherwise by design didn't have. And again, these side walls, this wall here, and on the other side as well, is almost 5 millimeters of plastic. So lots and lots of meat to work with. And as I explained to Annette, you want to start with a smaller drill bit like this that you can see in the shot. It's going to be probably about 1/2 to 1 millimeter in diameter. And you want to hold that foot controller real sturdy, line it up with where you've set that hole to be, and then begin your drilling process. And what you can do as an added thing, if you're concerned, is you can put a little piece of plastic or something like this as a buffer on the other side so that you don't drill too far and damage that delicate ceramic inner piece that's part of that electrical field. So you can put a little buffer in there, drill through using the smaller drill bit. We've got that one done. Now we're going to go to our next hole. And again, space these out because the ultimate hole you make is going to be about 5 millimeters in diameter. You don't want to put these holes too close together and risk cracking the foot controller. And again, when you're drilling, don't apply a lot of pressure downward. Let the drill bit do the work. And just continue to move down to the other holes that you've already marked. I used a Sharpie to mark it, so use something like that where you can... and again, I'm applying little or no pressure down whatsoever. I'm letting the drill bit do all the work. Kind of hold that with my thumb so that it's not moving around as much. And you'll feel that drill bit kind of slide through when it's reached the end of its drilling track. And then I have one over here as well. 4 holes is probably going to be enough. But I did suggest to Annette that she could add a final hole right about here. So now we've created our 4 holes. I'm just going to tap that a little bit. I can vacuum this later. So we got a hole here, 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 and here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to change up from this 1/2 to 1 millimeter drill bit, and we're going to go up just a size a little bit higher and increase that hole in each of those areas so that we have the proper ventilation eventually to benefit this foot controller. Again, if you're doing a lot of stopping and starting type sewing with shorter durations, you're probably not going to need to do this. But depending on the application that you're using the machine for, this could be very beneficial. So now we're going to port a slightly larger hole. And as I'm looking at this, this may be large enough. This is probably about a 3mm drill bit in circumference. Again, you're talking about a 5mm of material, so it takes a while to get through. You have to be very patient. And I'm not applying very much pressure at all. And finally, we're through. It took quite a while, didn't it? Just going to double check from the other side. So we actually have a little bit further to go. Again, 5mm of plastic is quite a bit of plastic. We're really close, so real close. We finally made it through. That was a lot of drilling, wasn't it? So now you can kind of see in the shot this hole right here that we just ported. And I'm not going to do all the holes on this premiere, obviously, because it's an impromptu premiere and I don't want to drag this out for hours as we go through, or it wouldn't be hours, but for a while. So now we're going up to the next level of drill bit, which is going to give us a final hole of right around 5mm in circumference or diameter, depending on how you want to describe it. So we started again with a drill bit about this size. Try to see if I'm in the shot. We started with a drill bit right around this size. Then we went to this drill bit. And now finally we're using the final drill bit, which will give us a final hole of right around 5mm in circumference. So, and again, let the drill bit do the work. Do not create a lot of pressure. See that? Once you get that initial hole in, it makes it a lot easier on the final stage. So imagine now from a ventilation standpoint, you can kind of see how it looks from the side. It's not gaudy, it's not unattractive in any way. We've added a hole right here. We're going to do the same thing here, 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 and here, and then we'll duplicate the same process on the other side of the foot controller. And we could even add a couple of extra ones to the front, but I think that if we put 5mm holes down this side and do the same thing on the other side, I think we'll be in real good shape in reducing that heat factor that Annette is running into with her free motion quilting and it building up inside of there. So you'll just follow the same process for the other holes. Again, take your time. Having some sort of a buffer in there, like this piece of plastic, is a good idea, just to make sure that you don't drill into that ceramic housing on the inside, because that'll create problems for you. And then you can enjoy a much cooler running foot controller if you're trying to meter out that power using the foot controller, doing free motion quilting or any other application when you feel like that slow gear is not going to work for you. The slow gear works for a lot of functions and applications for sewing, but when you're trying to do certain things like free motion quilting and you're trying to get that flow going, it can hamper you a little bit and become a point of frustration. So slow gear is a wonderful thing to have, but for all applications it does not work ideally. But Annette's going to be doing the same sort of thing with her foot controller that I sent her. She's going to be porting those holes, and that should give her the freedom to run much longer durations of free motion quilting without experiencing all that heat buildup that she's had. Because again, if you think about it as it was designed originally, you know, you're putting on that back metal plate, which in and of itself really holds a lot of that heat in. And then on this original style foot controller, you don't even have the benefit of those two little ports on the end over here to allow some of that heat out like that later model had. You just have a lot of closed space, and when you're using it for an application like free motion quilting, you can run into problems. You know, when that side originally was built to be, actually I'm pointing at the wrong spot. Problem with looking at the camera. When that original spot here was designed as a solid plastic mass, and you're using it in this range, and all that heat is building up, where does it go? It goes into the capacitors, it goes into the ceramic, it goes into the copper contacts, and it gets trapped in there. So all we're doing is coming up with a solution to give it the opportunity to dissipate by creating these extra ventilation spots below the threshold where you're going to be sewing most commonly in doing free motion quilting. Does that make sense? So I love getting on the phone with my customers. As I say in premieres all the time, when you put two heads together, it's amazing the innovations and improvements you can come up with for applications that Husqvarna may not have thought of back in the day. And it gives you the chance to take a great product and make it even better. Isn't that what we're all about in the classroom, is taking something and raising that bar and making it even more effective than it originally was designed for. So I'm going to end this premiere. I'm going to get back to porting the rest of these holes on this foot controller, just as Annette is doing down in Texas. And so if you're a free motion quilter and you have a Husqvarna green machine that has a foot controller similar to this, this is what you can do to eliminate that heat up that you're getting right now when you're sewing in that real slow range, not using the slow gear, but using the metering of the foot controller in that real low speed range where you're building up all that heat. Blah, 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 blah. And again, if you want a simple way to measure, I'll just say this real quick, you want a simple way to measure, well, how big is 5 millimeters? I don't have a caliper. The head of the screw or the bolt that holds that metal plate on the bottom, that screw that goes on both ends of this, the head of that screw is going to be right around 5 millimeters. So just gauge it like that as far as the hole. And again, take it in increments so that you don't crack the plastic. 5 millimeters is pretty tolerant of drilling, but again, you just don't want to risk cracking the bottom of that. So take it in, you know, again, small drill bit to start, a little bit bigger, and then finally the drill bit that's in the drill right now, which is right around, it's going to create a final hole of right around 5 millimeters in circumference. Okay? All right, hope that's helpful. And I'm going to get back to working on all the other machines that are waiting for my attention. God bless. Take care. Bye.